But hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's been a while since we spoke to the void. Oh, man, this is starting off great. Boom. Welcome to Nerd Escape,
the comic book podcast,
where we talk about everything underrated and overlooked.
Yeah, I'm your host, Cami.
I'm your host, Jublar, and we're here again to talk about some comic books.
Hot fire.
You know what? We need the music in the back. Whatever song is playing, but it's okay. It's a jammer.
Snap, crackle, pop.
I hope it's not that.
It's my own song. Thank you.
So what have you been up to lately? Tell the people.
Wedding planning.
Yeah, it's a lot of wedding planning. It's coming soon.
It's next week.
Is it? Oh, yeah, it is. When you're hearing this, it'll be next week, yes. For us, it's on the verge of being next week. I'm just like, I'll be there.
On the verge of next week. It is next week.
Yes.
And the peoples will be hearing this the week of our wedding. Why is there just that floaty?
I saw that too.
There's always floaties.
Dude, keep that on the video. There was a floating orb that just went.
I don't know if it was a floating orb or if it was just floating.
You be the judge, people. You just saw it. Oh, yeah. And so from now on Nerd Escape, we do have audio on, wherever you listen to podcasts from Anchor. You can go to whatever spot you want to listen to. You know that if you're doing that now. We're also going to be on YouTube. And if you're not on...
We've been on YouTube for 2 episodes.
2 episodes, I believe. And we'll actually start, doing some more content. We're actually kind of brushed through on a kind of more of a zoomed up level for the comic book we're featuring. So you can get an idea of what it looks like, the art and the layout and everything. And speaking of comic books, this episode, Nerd Escape, we are talking about Stray Dogs.
Stray Dogs.
Stray Dogs. What a story. It was published by Image Comics, May 19, 2021. Writer Tony Fleecs. Fleecs. What do you think that? Fleecs?
Flex?
Tony Fleecs. Tony Flex. We'll call him Tony Flex from now on.
I think it's Flex, but...
Yes, he is the writer. Trish Forstner is the artist. Very good art. Colorist is Brandon Simpson. And the layout is Tone Rodriguez. And he has a pretty interesting story about himself.
Is it Tone or Tony?
It goes by Tone. Tone.
I'm thinking about the group Tony. And one of them is spelled Tone.
There you go. You're Tone.
So Tony.
But yes, the summary of this, we'll get into the creators. But just to summarize this comic book, Stray Dogs, the main characters are dogs. Mm-hmm. Yes, they have dialogue and they talk to each other. And the art is very Disney or Oliver and Company, like kind of all dogs go to heaven vibe art. Like it really is. It's
100%.
And basically there's a dog named Sophie who is introduced to a new house full of dogs. And she starts to remember her past, and that's where the story unfolds into a kind of murder crime thriller genre. Like it really does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll talk more details about that, but that's just like a general summation of what this is. Mm-hmm. It's like, I think it was All Dogs Go to Heaven meets Silence of the Lambs is like one of the main quotes that's on this cover right here.
Yeah.
But yes, the creator, Tony Fleecs. Sorry for butchering that, but you're awesome. He has a website, www.tonyflex.com. You can check out his art. You can even buy original art that he does. And he does comic book art for My Little Pony. Mm-hmm. That's one of his main... he's on a lot of those, just so you know. They look pretty cool.
My Little Pony's pretty good.
Like,
I've seen a TV show.
Sometimes in the comic books, like even like other genres like the Flintstones or Scooby-Doo, they kind of try to take it and modernize it. So
right.
I bet the Little Ponies are doing crazy stuff. Inform us if they are.
They're pretty cool. They're pretty cool.
Have you read any of it?
I've seen the TV show.
Okay.
A couple of episodes, but that's when I was like babysitting for younger kids.
So you're an expert, you would say.
No, maybe getting close, but
oh man. And besides Stray Dogs, he also made I think it's about to come out with a volume of its own. It's called Dog Days, and it shows every individual issue of the backstory of each dog that's in this story, because they all have like kind of, I don't want to say, no, they kind of have dark backstories. That's all I'll say about that. But title. Oh yeah, some of the titles that Tony Fleecs work on is In My Time, Jeff Steinberg, Champion of Earth, the forthcoming Time Shopper, and Stray Dogs now. So he's kind of still fresh in the game, getting his toes wet. This one definitely was a jump into the water. It's a really good story. His art is featured in comic book titles like Star Wars, Avengers, Batman, TMT, Transformers, and a ton of My Little Pony. Like a ton of My Little Pony. But it's kind of like that same artwork. You think My Little Pony would be like cartoonish and everything like that. And then we go to our artist, Trish Forstner. You can catch her at Trish Forstner. And if I didn't say before, Tony Fleecs is at Tony Fleecs on Twitter and IG. Trish Forstner, she's a newcomer to the comic book industry and has been drawing lovable characters for a long time. Draws influences from classic 80s to 90s cartoon animation. It's very, very strong in this, as you can see on some of the art we're going to show on YouTube. She also does art for IDW, My Little Pony as well. So maybe that's where they met. They were like, dude, how's your My Little Pony going?
Yeah.
It's pretty My Little Pony. Yeah, it's great. But her collection of artwork is on a website, animatedvisions.com. To this day, she still loves to watch cartoons and likes to look on the lighter side of life with her art and make people smile with it.
Love it.
Quote from her website. Go check it out. Colorist is Brad Simpson at 20 Eyes Brad. To name a few, his titles Coffin Bound, Cities of Magic, Doctor Strange, Nocturna, Catalyst, and Join the Future. I've heard of Coffin Bound. The art's really good on that, and the color are good as well. And the color on this, I would say it has like great depth of color and like light tones, and it's almost like bright muted colors. And also the art is flattened. Kind of how like that 3D effect it gives. I think I forgot what comic book we reviewed that did the flattening technique. It's like a Japanese
Is it
technique.
called New World?
New World, yes. New World by that writer. I forgot his name.
By Elias Cott. And
Tradmore.
does
Tradmore's
the
art
on it. And
Tradmore is the man. He really is.
His wife also does the coloring as well.
Yeah.
Tradmore's.
But yes, the artwork kind of does look like that as well with the flattening of everything.
Yeah.
And so it's a kind of mess with your brain and like give you like a 3D image and stuff. Last, Tony Rodriguez. He is the comic book layout designer. He himself does comic book art and writes. Primarily, he's the primary artist for Bongo Comics. And notes about the layout design guy. And he was once in Showtime's series Dexter. Remember that with the serial killer?
Yeah, I only watched like half a season.
You didn't miss much. Pretty much at the end, he just like screws up his whole life and gets people killed that he loves. Either he does it or someone else does, and he becomes a lumberjack. Pretty much.
That's weird.
He disappears into the woods.
Man of the land.
It should be coming back soon. But he played an online blogger and a killer named Benjamin Alvaro. So he played a killer on Dexter. And he also produced the comic book from The Office. Remember the episode where Pam makes Jim the Adventures of Jim Halpert's comic book scene in The Office?
Yep, I remember all too well.
He made that comic book.
Cool. That's nice.
Tony Rodriguez. Good job. That was a good episode.
That's like, yeah, that's big ball in there right there.
Okay. So the comic book of this, yes. We'll just jump into kind of like the story and plot here. Sophie, if you can hear it.
Heard a little click clack.
Sophie is this dog. She's kind of a Pomeranian type dog, right?
Yeah, she's like a pom.
Yeah, so she's smaller. They start talking about dogs' memory and how it works. And speaking of dogs, Art just walked into the room.
Yeah.
But they start talking about memories and things like that. And basically they have short-term memory, like they have like habits they remember. And as she's at the vet, and all of a sudden she's like with her own owner, and all of a sudden she's in a different room being like escorted into like this different house with all these other dogs by this man. And Sophie's very confused. She doesn't know where she's at, kind of like a real dog would be.
Right.
And there's just, I think there's like 9 dogs there, possibly.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. And the story picks up from there.
Yep.
How would you describe it as picking up from there? Without spoiling anything for our listeners.
It definitely gives me a lot of like true crime vibes, and the true crime in the sense of like from the dog's perspective.
Yeah.
We are watching true crime through a dog.
So basically, yes, the dog starts remembering, like, gets like a cue hit, like from like, you know, a smell or something, and it's like, oh crap, I remember my owner. And you'll find out by the first issue, and this is pretty much the main plot, the guy they're living with is murdering people.
Yeah.
Yes, he's murdering people. So it's like a bunch of dogs living with a murderer. That the murderer, where to get the dogs from?
Right.
Yes.
He's taking care of them and
Feeding them,
providing for them.
And then the dogs start to work together, and they kind of piece everything together, and then they kind of, some panic and some freak out. The owner, you know, serial killer guy, he gives punishment out on the dogs too. So there's situations you see that, and there's just an assortment of characters. I think like Sophie's the Pomeranian. Who's the main dog's name? What's the main dog's name?
It starts with an R. I always forget. It's like out of the ordinary.
Rusty. Rusty is his name.
That's not out of the ordinary.
Yeah, Rusty is his name. We'll show some of these clips on the video. Basically, Rusty. There's like a Dalmatian. There's like the dumb dogs, and you see like the dumb dog blimps where it's like, oh, you want to know what I found today? I don't know where my ball's at. Like, where's my stick? Like, you know, it's like, I got something important to say. It's like, dude, quit being a dog for a second. We're talking about serious murder stuff. But it is just an interesting story. I think there's like an old dog named Earl there, who's actually named after Tony Fleecs' grandpa, which is pretty cool.
So cute.
And we'll go into that. Like, there's like a Malamute, and there's just different kind of dogs, and they seriously all have like, you know, the Disney vibe. But this is Disney dog, old school cartoon meets like solving a murder mystery. Yeah, which is pretty interesting. And that's the only way to describe this. And like,
that's it.
Yes, but it's honestly a short read. You can read this pretty fast.
I think I read it in
one sitting.
Like one sitting. So
yeah, I
guess like 15 minutes, 30 minutes probably.
It was 30 minutes. Yeah, and it's like the dogs talking to each other. So sometimes they like some of the parts kind of speak through the art itself.
Yeah.
And I read it for a second time before this episode, and it kind of like hit harder the second time too. I was just like, oh, like the dogs go through some stuff.
They do.
And their memories. And then if you like this, I think it's the Dog Days that just finished their 5 issues. It has a reflection back on the dogs and what they saw this guy do and why they live with him now. So that's the best we're going to do without spoiling anything for this. So listeners, I'm telling you, underrated, overlooked. Like, I walk past this all the time, and people, you know, there might be some comic book person's name on the comic book thing where it's like, recommended by so-and-so, and it's like, it looks weird. It's something that we didn't know we needed.
Oh, yeah. It was, I think it was a perfect story, because it's nothing like you've ever read before, especially comic book-wise. Like, I don't think I've ever heard of anything similar to it. I mean, you don't even think about it when it comes to movies or TV shows. There's no perspective of the dog is trying to solve a murder.
Yeah. A lot of murders.
And so, just it's such a different perspective, and I think that's one things I enjoyed about it a lot is that it was just a really great take on like the perspective of true crime. Yeah. So
with dogs.
Yeah.
Yes, we're gonna check out Stray Dogs. So we're gonna jump into a Q&A like the old days.
You know,
listeners, we're trying to record. We're busy, like hella busy. But you know, before we go on our wedding and our honeymoon, we're leaving with another episode after this one too. Okay.
Yeah, mini
manga should be coming, so expect that. But a Q&A. To you, Cami, favorite thing about Stray Dogs?
I would have to say the art style and the coloring, and that's just because I felt at home while reading this, and not at home in the sense of like true crime, but at home with the style, because again, like those remnants of remembering Oliver and Company, remembering All Dogs Go to Heaven, like those were childhood films, so it was really nice to kind of have that feeling of being at home but reading about true crime. So it kind of like meshed the two together in a soft way, because true crime is so hard to deal with, but with the softness of this art style and the color, I was like, okay, I can wrap my mind around this a little bit easier.
Sometimes you see the dogs as like puppies in their memories, and it's just like, oh,
I know.
poor thing.
It was really cute. So the art style, the coloring, top notch.
Okay, yes. I put down the art, and I exactly wrote down it brought me back to Oliver and Company.
Yeah.
If you are at a party with me and we're drunk and everyone's passing around the remote and it's like, hey, put your YouTube video on that you pop up. Mine is going to be the scene from Oliver and Company where Dodger, the main character, the Jack Russell Terrier, he sings that song, Why Should I Worry? And he's like, going to the streets of New York. Look it up. Okay. He's the first original, like, the glasses in New York, like, fall in the dog's face, and he's just, like, singing this badass song that Billy Joel sang. It's my go-to.
Yes,
okay, Oliver Company. Look it up. Why Should I Worry? You will jam after this. But I also liked with the art and the setting as well. It's like you take these cute animals and you put them in this vulnerable, weird situation that you would never think cross paths. But there probably has been a serial killer who like took people's dogs after he killed them.
Maybe. But a lot of serial killers try to avoid like people who have dogs.
True.
And if somehow they get one, then they end up killing the dog.
Okay.
I don't think I listen to a lot of true crime.
Okay, you don't gotta go into the details.
And I've never ever heard of a serial killer who takes the dogs as trophies.
Okay.
It's always a lock of hair.
Well, moving on.
Picture.
But who's your favorite character in this? The murderer.
Why would I say that?
I don't know. You're really into true crimes,
Yeah, but I never liked the killers.
Sure you didn't.
This guy knows nothing.
Who's your favorite?
My favorite character was Imogen.
Imogen?
Imogen or Imogene.
Yes. She just lays there for like.
She lays there, but here's the thing. She minded her business. She knew what was coming, but she minded her business, and that's what's important.
Yeah. Every dog kind of steps up in their own way in the end.
Yeah, they have their own. Like
Imogen is like, oh yeah, that's Imogen over there. She's just like the dog that like is just always sleeping on the bed.
Yeah, she
gets up to drink water.
Yeah,
and goes back and lays down. They all have their special characters.
Yeah, they all have very different personalities, which I thought was really, really great because the with the drawing and then with the writing, even if a dog didn't have a lot of dialogue during the comic book, they still had their own personalities that you knew which dog was who. Like, there was definitely a distinction.
Yes, my favorite character was Earl. He was the oldest dog there, and he kind of was like a bloodhound. But he's the most dynamic character. He goes through a lot of change because he's kind of stubborn. He's just like, this guy's our master, and he's that dog who's like, no, like he basically. Everyone thinks the dog Sophie's crazy for having these memories,
right.
And then everyone else kind of gets memories here and there. But Earl's always just like, no, like he's like the loyal to the master.
Does not want to go against the cloth.
Yes, which is a dog thing to do. Then he goes through some change, and does he stick to his weight or does he become the hero? You find out. Okay, but Earl's great, and also Tony Fleecs named her Tony Fleecs. I think it's Fleecs, but Tony Fleecs names him after his grandpa. I already said that before, but that's a pretty cool thing. Like if you go on his IG, I think he drew Earl the dog, and he's like gave it to his mom, and or I forgot, but basically it's very close to him, so that's pretty cool. And last question to wrap this episode up: what kind of dog would you be in this story? Like type and then character wise.
I don't know what dog I would want to be. Maybe, I don't know, some type of herding dog, some type of like red heeler.
Okay, red heeler.
Yeah,
that'd be cute.
Yeah, that was what Levi was.
Yeah, Levi, he was.
And then I would probably still be like personality-wise, I'd probably have healer mentality.
Okay. I would be kind of the same. I'd be my dog Scully. She would be terrified.
Yeah, she would.
She had to go in this house. But I would be a mix, like kind of a mutt country dog. Probably be smart enough. I'd probably be smart enough to know what was going on, I guess. I would probably be smart enough to know that was going on, but I would like bide my time and be like, yeah, I'm not gonna get killed,
I would be the one to get everybody organized and be like, look, we've got to do this.
I'm an accountant, dog.
Yeah. Let me run the numbers real quick.
But yeah, I guess that would be a Catahoula. I think that's what my dog is.
Yeah, that's what she is.
So, yeah, buying your time. They're too smart for their own good, in my own opinion.
100%.
Yes. But yes, check out Stray Dogs. Like I said, if you're listening on Spotify, go on YouTube. We're going to flutter the pages, like the other comic book media does.
I don't want to be like other comic book
I don't want to
medias.
either, but, people like to see with their eyes and then,
know.
go buy the comic book.
Talk to us. Do you want to see us flip through it? Do you want to be surprised when you pick up the comic book?
No, we'll flip through it, and they won't get the story from it. Already. Just, I own 5% of the...
He doesn't own any.
The crocheting business. And, 50% of this. I think the fluttering needs to happen.
Okay, man.
All right. Well, that has been Stray Dogs.
Are you going to flutter for the people?
I'm going to flutter it separately, and then we're going to edit it into the video. I'm not going to flutter it from all the way over here.
Oh, okay.
I'll flutter it. Okay. Now we're just wasting time. Stray Dogs, written by Tony Fleecs, Forstner, the artist. Check it out. It is one of a kind. Like I said, it is.
It's really good.
Old school Disney cartoon art, great coloring, and
You might cry.
You honestly, the second time I read it, I kind of was like, no, I'm tearing up. Like I'm looking at an emotional part right now. But yes, that has been Nerd Escape. I don't know what episode it is, but we'll put it on the label.
No, that's one of the many.
And so this episode, we'll see when it airs. It's going to be our own surprise because, time, we're busy. But after you get this episode, just to know, you're going to get one more before our wedding, April 23rd. Go to our, what's it called?
I don't know. Our
thing where people can buy stuff.
our registry.
So go to our registry.
And, we'll
hit it up for us. We'll put a link up for you. You can go to registry and get us something and be like, what?
Yeah, so that when we get back.
Yes, thank you for listening to Nerd Escape,
the comic book podcast,
where we talk about everything overrated and underlooked.
Underlooked?
Damn it! I knew we'd do that one time. We were joking about that.
We were.
All right, you hit it off. We're rusty. We'll be back to normal whenever all this is wrapped up.
This has been Nerd Escape,
the comic book podcast,
where we talk about everything underrated and overlooked.
That's it. I'm your host, Jublar.
And I'm your host, Cami.
Cheers. And we'll be Stray Dogs.
Go read it. We demand it.